Hello, guys and girls. Welcome to episode 92 of the FReality Podcast. This is a weekly VR, AR, and MR talk show, live streamed every Saturday on YouTube, Facebook, and on Twitch. You can tune into the show live at 7 p.m. in Europe, 6 p.m. in the UK, and 12 midday in central US. You can also check out the audio version, which is available on iTunes, SoundCloud, and on Anchor. If you enjoy the show, please subscribe to our YouTube channel or smash that like button because that would really help us out. If you have any questions, comments, or feedback during the show, please put them in the chat. We'll try to answer as many questions as we can. Now it's time for me to introduce you to the team. First up, if you ever see this guy in VRChat, he'll be a mushroom. It's very fitting because he's such a fun guy, is of course Nathie. How you doing, dude? You all right?
Yeah, and I sometimes dress up as a mushroom in VR, straight out of the Holland land.
Yes.
So.
Apparently they've got some good mushrooms there.
Exactly. If you want to go on a trip, then join me. That's all you got to do. Because I'm a mushroom, I know. Like I'm the expert here.
The magic mushroom, Nathie.
Yes.
So, next up, always putting his mind, body, and soul out there for VR science, all whilst doing it live on Twitch and YouTube, is ZimTalk5. How you doing, dude? You all right?
Yeah, I'm good. Another week of heavy experimentation, actually, over here. So, and for those of you watching the video, you'll see that now I'm the proud owner of not one, but two portable green screens, which has been fun trying to fit those into a relatively small studio. But they're working well for me now, so I'm happy.
I do miss your background though. I miss the posters. You know,
they'll be back. There's junk back that I can show you.
Just key them. That's fine. That's fine.
There's film, possibly dead bodies. There's stuff back.
Just take a screenshot of them and then like green screen.
Green screen. Yeah, exactly. And it's always clean. You don't have to clean your room ever again.
That's a brilliant idea.
Yeah.
I actually I was going to do that with my posters. I was going to put just a green piece of paper so that I could just change the poster whenever I wanted. So
that's a genius idea.
There you go.
Genius idea. So next, he's back, rowdier than ever. The man, the myth, the legend is of course Rowdy guy. How you doing?
Right? Yeah, I took a little bit of a week off and I got all bruised up. If you guys can see that.
What happened?
You should see the other guy though. Now, what basically happened is that I had to put like a closet from IKEA. I had to put it together. But I didn't have a hammer, so I decided to just do it with my hand and try to bang the nails in. But yeah, that didn't really work out.
Didn't really work. So the IKEA.
It is really IKEA's fault. So I'm going to Sweden real soon and go and show them a lesson. But basically, like I like, you know what, you get like a manual with IKEA, but real men don't look at the manual and just flick it out. You know,
real men.
Like putting it together, you're finally done, and you go like, this is not right, you know, and you need to jack everything back out and like try it again. But while I was trying to pull something out, I was pulling something so hard that eventually it pumped down, like jumped in my face, and I got this like nice little reminder from it.
So basically what we deluded from that story was that you hit yourself in the face with a piece of wood.
Yes.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay.
You should see the other guy.
Okay. Well, last but by no means least, myself, the host of the show, Mike from Virtual Reality Oasis. We've got a busy show for you today. Some of the highlights include that we're going to be talking about the awesome upcoming Battle Royale game Population 1 coming to the Oculus Quest, which was a big surprise this week. We've got the new season of Black Mirror to discuss, which you should definitely be watching when you're not in VR. Zim's going to give you the lowdown on the latest releases to look forward to next week. And then we're going to round up the show by talking about our VR predictions for the biggest gaming event of the year, which is next week, of course, E3. So let's find out what everyone's been up to and their highlight of the week this week. Feel free to join in in the chat, by the way, and we can read out some of your suggestions as well. But first, let's kick it over to Nathie first to find out what you played and your sort of highlight that you want to share with us.
Yeah, so I played VRChat with Mike.
With me?
Yes.
Okay.
And it was amazing.
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun. First of all, VRChat is free. It's an online multiplayer, and it's like the virtual reality Oasis. It's then like it's an early version of it. Okay, yeah. There are a lot of random, fun, crazy, awesome people running around, and you can drop portals, dive in, and go to all kinds of worlds. So yeah, Mike and I played all kinds of things. We went to a Wii Sports bowling area.
Of course you did.
Yes, and we could actually use the nunchuck and the Wii controller in VR.
Yeah.
And we played bowling with that.
Yeah.
It was actually quite hard to do that because you already hold controllers in real life, and then you also have controllers in VR. So you go even, it's like controllerception, basically. We also played Bomberman.
Yes.
Well, I don't know, Mike. That was a
that was crazy
one.
Yeah, because obviously it's a classic SNES game. If you're in the UK, you called it a SNES. Super Nintendo for everyone else in the world. But yeah, it's a classic game, and you can play it in VR with up to 4 players in VRChat, which is kind of crazy.
Is this so? Are you actually like playing it on an arcade cabinet, or
No,
is it a
it's first
3D
person.
version?
Yeah, 3D
Jesus!
version.
Oh
Yeah, it's
God!
crazy.
Throwing bombs and everything.
Or dropping bombs, strategically to take out your opponent.
Do they have the whip? Do they have the whip?
I didn't know there was a whip in Bomberman.
Oh, you do your homework.
No.
You can bat. You mean you can push the bombs? Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, they don't have that.
Or jump over bombs, or actually ride dinosaurs, stuff like that. No. Gotta disappoint you. But there was this one moment because VRChat on Quest is a little different than the PC version. There are certain avatars that you can't see, and there are also certain avatars you can't be because they are only for PC users, and that's the same with worlds. Some worlds don't work, and some do. So you kind of need to part over your PC world to Quest, and then it works. So it's totally up to the community to, round up this ecosystem, even with Quest. But
when you say you can't see them, though, I think you mean that there's a default skin. It's not that they're invisible.
No,
right.
It's like you recognize if someone is a PC user because they are this dummy, and they have a picture of their avatar on their bellies. It's super weird. But then you're like, oh, so that's the avatar you're using. But there was this one moment where Mike saw a portal and it said Donkey Kong, and he was like, wow, well, I gotta try this. And I also got very excited. I was like, after Bomberman, it can only get better, right? So he jumped straight into the portal, but because it was PC, he just ended up on the other side of the portal. So he was like, what the heck? This is so sad. Why? Yeah. So yeah, there are moments where you're like, whoa, this world, we gotta go in, and then it's like, nah, dang it, it's only for PC. But it works super well. It's super duper smooth. It's great. It really is.
There was I had a few issues though, hearing PC players sometimes. Like there was times where I joined a room, and then like when I joined, I couldn't hear them, but they could.
Oh yes,
hear me, which was kind of weird. And then there was like a time where we went to this place called Gooseland. It's as magical as you would imagine. It's basically full of geese that you can then embody yourself. Yeah. But then we kept on getting stuck and having problems. So, but other than that, it was pretty solid. We also visited Tuscany. So the iconic Tuscany demo level for like Oculus DK1 users, you'll be very familiar with it. So that was kind of a little nostalgic trip. But yeah, it was fun hanging out in VRChat again, but it is always a crazy adventure. Whenever you dive into VRChat, it's very unpredictable. You don't know what you're going to get. And I guess that's kind of the fun of it.
Yeah, and I think it has a very active user base at the moment, since Quest is super new, and there are a lot of people who played all the single player stuff now, and they're like, hey, I want to find friends in a multiplayer. So I think Rec Room and Arbus and VRChat and all those others, that's where most of the Quest users are hanging out, I think.
Yeah. I got a question for you guys, because I'm not really sure why they implemented this feature, but mirrors, like you've got a default mirror, which I suppose loads faster or something, and then you can press a button and get the HD mirror, which looks like beautiful. And do you know what I'm talking about in VRChat? Like,
we haven't seen that, but that is a feature on PC as far as I know. But
I just wonder why they have it as an option. Like, why is it a toggle on Quest? Because the HD mirror mode works perfectly fine, and it looks great from a distance and all that.
I did see worlds where you could turn off the mirror, and I also had worlds where the world itself was quite performance heavy already, and by turning on the mirror, you're actually risking a crash. I do think that most worlds in VRChat work fine, but some people are really dressing it up to the max, and
Right.
then you start to notice performance dips.
But I'm not even
But the
talking.
approved.
I'm not even talking like custom. I'm talking the base. You know when you walk down that ramp and there's a little campfire and a couple of base avatars and stuff? Like there's just on the other side of that table where you can put some hats on and stuff, there's a mirror, and on the right side of that, a toggle. And
It's
really
just a default mirror.
I didn't even know that existed.
Yeah, and it's in. Well, if you check it, it totally changes. Like when you're looking at yourself, you're like, wow, this is me. I am now an anime girl. This is good.
But they pulled it up where Rec Room has a mirror that doesn't show anything, but only your avatar. VRChat pulled it off in a way where you can see others. You can, of course, in Rec Room you can also see other avatars behind you, but you can't see objects or the background you're standing in. But in VRChat it works. I am like super impressed.
Wait. Zim, do you often play as an anime girl?
Who? Me?
Yeah.
Always.
Well, only when paid.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Okay.
So let's move on then. What about you then, Zim? What did you play this week, and what's your sort of highlight of the week?
I feel like we should do like hashtag it's free and crazy for this week's highlights, because I'm going to talk about Rec Room because Rec Room I've been playing like a boatload of Rec Room paintball. And I know we're planning to talk a little bit later about the quest that came out for it, which we managed to beat. So paintball is just such a natural gaming experience. I mean, it's probably the first time that I've felt like I was actually playing real life paintball today. Like we were like gunning it for like 4 hours. Got my family involved as well. And it's a great thing to be able to walk up to your, wife and daughter and just cross your arm with guns and just splatter both of them in the face at the same time. It was just fun to do that. And the best part about it actually was the part where I had to chase my wife. I'm like, why aren't you guys in the game yet? And I go downstairs and she's kind of like half dressed and playing Beat Saber. And I'm like, how much, how many people would be like, this is like the gift of a lifetime. Like the universe has finally got all the stars to align. And, I've got my kids playing Rec Room with me and paintball and whatever. And my wife's late to the game because she's playing Beat Saber. It's like, it just seems right.
So wait, how did you set this up then? Were you playing on multiple different headsets? So you're playing on the Quest, PC,
Quest.
PSVR as well, or?
So no, like we set up my daughter in just 2D, so flat. So she's on just a normal PC.
Okay.
And then my wife in a Quest, and I'm in a Quest. Yeah. And then we had a few friends as well. So we had a good like 4v4, 8-person game. It was fantastic, just so good.
You totally need to try dodgeball, because then you're using your physical body. Like I played it and I invited some of my subscribers and I said like, just throw all the balls at me and just try to hit me. So I was just jumping around in my room, jumping over, because you can actually jump over a ball and it works. It's super funny. Yeah. Yeah.
It really sounds like someone, I mean, we'll talk about this later, but somebody apparently broke their finger while they were playing and kept playing with us. It was really funny. Anyway, so there have been injuries for sure, but like, it's great when people injure themselves and they're like, I'm just going to keep playing because this is so good.
Yeah.
So it's right.
And you hear it, like you hear someone else smacking their hand against something and they're like, ow, and then they just keep playing. Like nothing happened.
And someone who also had an incident in VR this week that may have broken their finger is PD. I don't know if he's moderating the chat today.
Yes. You already mentioned it.
You already mentioned it. Yeah, keep us updated. Like, did you actually break his finger, or has he been to the doctors yet to get it checked out? I'd love to know. But let's move on to
Swords of Gargantua.
That's
I think
right.
That was the game that he did.
Although he did do a lot of damage after, of course, in real life too. But in the game, he also hit pretty well. So well done.
It was just bruised. Apparently, it's just a bruise.
Oh, good.
He's just a pussy. That's basically it.
Hey, Rowdy, stay nice. He's mother.
Yeah, we appreciate everything that you do for us, PD.
Yeah.
Of course. I'm only joking. Jeez.
So what about you then, Rowdy? You big man. What did you play?
Except for hitting myself in the face with wood.
Exactly.
Well, the highlight of my week was that my girlfriend watched her first episode of Black Mirror. Boy, I had some explaining to do. I spent every Saturday evening with my VR buddies doing a podcast.
Oh no.
I mean, I won't be spoiling anything, but yeah, it was weird.
Yeah.
Wait. Did you show the first episode of the entire show? Because Mike once recommended Black Mirror to me, and it's like, just go and watch it. So I just, of course, started with the first episode, and then nightmare fuel.
Well, we're gonna be talking about Black Mirror very shortly.
Exactly.
Don't spoil anything. But I think you also played the game that I played, and is my highlight of the week, and that is Trover Saves The Universe, right?
Indeed. Yeah. The thing with Trover Saves The Universe is that I love the humor. I'm a big Justin Roiland fan. I love Rick and Morty. I think the humor in the game is great. The only thing is, I'm not a fan of platformers in general.
Yeah.
Even though, I mean, it isn't really a platformer, but the platform elements in that game, if they would remove it, for me, it would make it a better game. If I could just listen to the conversations, just mess around with it, do all that kind of stuff, I would just have fun with it. If it was a little bit more like accounting was, for example, it's much more.
Rowdy, that was
I would have liked that more. That being said, I mean, I understand that a lot of people think it's a great game. I mean, I played it only for an hour, I think. So I only got like to the first planet, I think that is the first planet, and I did like the thing there. I laughed out loud a lot with it. But the game elements, the fighting or like the jumping around or getting to the platforms, it's just not my kind of thing.
So did you play it on PC or PSVR?
I played it on PSVR.
Okay, so I waited because it released early on PSVR, right? And it came out this week on PC, so you can play it on Rift or HTC Vive or Windows MR. And it's worth noting as well that although the game is super colorful and bright and vibrant, it's not a kid's game at all. Like you mentioned about the humor, it's got tons of swearing in. If you play it on YouTube, you're going to get demonetized.
So even if you turn off the mature mode, it's still not for kids.
Oh yeah, it's still not for kids. There's no swearing in it. They only bleep out the really extreme swear words, but all the other normal ones are in it. Yeah. But yeah, like Rowdy said, it's made by Justin Roiland, the guy responsible for Rick and Morty. He also obviously is part of Squanch Games, the development studio that made Accounting. So if you played Accounting, then you know what to expect with this game.
It's a little different though. Like it's a seated experience, and on PSVR you use. I only played it with a controller, with a gamepad. On PC, how does it work on PC? How do you play it on the? So
this is the thing. Like I played it with the Oculus Touch controllers on the Rift S. And I had serious issues with it.
Doesn't make sense either, because you hold the controller yourself in the game, right?
Exactly.
But it is not tracked at all.
It is tracked if you.
Oh, so like pixel ripped in a way where
exactly.
You could.
Yeah, exactly. The big issue with the touch controllers is that the button mapping is kind of strange because there's obviously a D-pad missing. So when it comes to the second level, I won't spoil anything, but basically you learn an ability that is mapped really poorly to the touch controllers, and it's mapped so poorly that it basically doesn't work. So you can't progress further than the second level using the touch controllers. So I reverted to using like an Xbox One S gamepad and had a way better experience with that and completely.
Yeah, it's really designed with the game, because I mean I don't know if it's the same for the PC version, but I do assume so. Because the character itself holds a controller in its hand as well the entire time that you're playing it. So I mean, it does make sense as well, because they even refer to it in the game itself. Are you pressing those buttons again, or like stuff like that they're saying. So
exactly.
It makes sense that you're holding a controller.
But to give you go on.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
I was going to say, to give you an idea of the story, basically you play this guy that's chair bound. So he's a chairopian, apparently. And you team up with Trover, who's this like eye hole alien. And basically, the story is that your dogs get stolen by an evil alien who then uses the dogs in his eye holes to power himself to take over the universe. And if you think that sounds crazy, like I haven't even touched the surface of how crazy this game gets. It gets even weirder. So I would just say, like, it took me around sort of 5 hours to finish it from start to finish. I didn't get all the collectible power babies from all the levels. But if you like Rick and Morty, I think you'll really dig it. If you're not a big fan of Rick and Morty, then I would say probably give this a pass.
I think gameplay-wise, it's my least favorite one, because I like to just use my room skill area and use my hands to do stuff. But in terms of comedy, it's one of the best ones, I would say.
The thing that they do so well is how they pick up on things that happen in the game. A very small thing in the beginning is, for example, you need to go to like a blue kind of orb, which is kind of like a transportation node. And when you go there and you say, okay, I go to the orb, you go and stand on the orb. And then when you go off the orb, he will immediately pick up on that and say, what are you doing? No, go back on the orb. It's like immediately like it picks up on everything that happens in the game as well. Like when you do something that you think like, oh, the game is not going to expect me doing this, or it's not going to expect me doing that. They pick up on that really quickly. There's so much convo in this game, like just so much conversation.
And that's the thing, a bit like accounting, the characters never shut up. Like they don't shut up. They're constant. And there is a character in the second level that it just is so irritating.
He just reminded me of you, Mike, to be honest. So
his name was Mike. No,
there should have been, no. But I mean, but that's a problem. That kind of game is really hard to stream because how do you commentate or add to it?
Well, you don't.
You watch it.
You just watch, or you play it with just a Royland. That's all you can do.
Right, exactly. But you're exactly right, because I was trying to record a video, and there was a bit where I was trying to say, oh, this is kind of interesting, like how they've done the controller. Trover just wouldn't shut up, and I was like, dude, just shut up. I'm trying to explain to my audience here, like how to do the controls. So I totally relate.
The best part of what I experienced was, though, that they have like some puzzles in the game as well that you can solve. But at a certain point, like the puzzle gets a bit more complex, and you start like thinking, oh, should I do this, should I do that, and even though like it wasn't taking too long for me yet, Trover was already getting annoyed with it. It's like, no, you know what? Screw all of this and that, blah, blah. Just come back down. Just come. Screw this game. Screw this game. And he goes like, he takes out his sword and he just breaks everything down of the puzzle. And you continue through with that. Like you didn't even have to solve the puzzle then. Like he just goes like, whatever, like whatever that stupid puzzle. For me, I think stuff like that makes this game brilliant in its own way. It's not for everyone. If you don't like that kind of humor, it's definitely not for you. And if you don't like platformers, then try to like look over that and just enjoy the humor.
Yeah,
that's. I think it's more about the comedy than really the game.
Oh yeah,
it is. It is for sure.
Also, gents, I have a scoop. I have breaking news. According to the chat and also Twitter, Onward has just been announced for the Quest on the VR League. So,
which is going on right now, right? Yeah. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, excellent.
Official announcement.
We kind of predicted this was going to happen, but it's awesome that they've officially announced it. The Quest was lacking a multiplayer VR shooter. Obviously, we know we've got Pavlov coming, but now having Onward coming as well, that's absolutely awesome.
I'm ready.
Zim is ready. What about people in the chat? Did they got any suggestions of what they played this week?
Yeah, indeed. So I saw a lot of people saying, again, Beat Saber. Let me scroll back up a bit because I asked it a little bit earlier. And also, like, I asked like if people still remembered Tuscany. And Eric, for example, said, I played Tuscany first on cardboard. Omnoms spent the entire week trying to complete all Beat Saber songs on Expert, and now he hates Beat Saber, which I can understand if you play it on Expert.
That's sad.
Rec Room, Beat Saber, Rec Room, the Quest Golden Trophy, Dead and Buried 2 on the Quest Box VR, a little bit of Lo-Fi on the Rift S. It looked gorgeous. That was rendered reality. James Davies bought Seeking Dawn yesterday. Oh, it's been a while since I heard that title. Les Morrick played and finished Theseus. It's kind of interesting to be seeing like more and more different kind of games in the chat popping up, even older titles. The
one that caught my attention there was Lo-Fi, because that's being developed by the developer who made Technolust, right? I believe. Indeed. So you must have had early access to that game. But I'm super interested in that game as well, because it reminds me of like Blade Runner. That kind of like vibe looks really cool. But let's jump into some quick news then. But before we get into quick news, let's say thank you to the sponsor of this episode of the FReality Podcast, which is Coatsink, with their latest title, Shadow Point. Now, Shadow Point is a mysterious, story-driven puzzle adventure game where you take the role of Alex Burkett, trying to uncover the mystery of a missing schoolgirl, Lorna McCabe, who disappeared from Shadow Point Observatory 12 years ago. Guided by the journal of Edgar Mansfield, who is narrated by the one and only Sir Patrick Stewart, you will have to solve puzzles to uncover the truth. You can check out Shadow Point, which is available now on Oculus Rift and the Quest, and there's a link to it in the description below.
Wait, is it the man from Star Trek, from the X-Men?
Yes.
More?
Do you know what? I loved, if you ever watched that TV show called Extras, it was made by Ricky Gervais. There's an excellent episode where Sir Patrick Stewart features in that, and it's absolutely hilarious.
Sir Patrick Stewart.
Yeah. He's great. He's really fantastic.
But let's start off with the quick news this week and some good news from the team from Beat Games. Something a lot of people have been asking for since the Quest launched, and that's casting. And it's now been enabled for Beat Saber on the Oculus Quest. So this means that you can cast Beat Saber to your mobile phone or your TV using a Chromecast. So friends and family can basically watch your gameplay whilst you're having some fun. Now, we weren't quite sure about the reason why this wasn't enabled from the beginning. We weren't sure if it was like a technical issue or it needed optimization. We just didn't know. So I reached out to the developers this morning who confirmed that it was in fact a legal thing. That was the issue, which they've now resolved. And they said that from a technical point, all they had to do was click one button to enable it. But
this is what we have been talking about last episode about like legal stuff. So yeah, interesting.
Yeah, exactly. And
did they say which one? Was it the Android related one? Was it Microsoft related? Or?
They didn't go into detail. I'm sure they probably can't share that information. But they just confirmed it was a legal issue. And it's all around streaming music, right? Like streaming music is a big business. It's a big problem.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But like we've mentioned before, they're really paving the way for how music is used fairly in video games. You know, we've not seen this kind of thing before from a game developer like Harmonix, for example. They, for some reason, they don't seem to be tackling the same problems that Beat Saber has been tackling.
So you can cast to your TV, mobile phone, tablet.
Everything within a local network, I guess.
Yeah.
Right.
So you can cast using the app or from the headset itself. Obviously, there's other third-party solutions out there to stream to PC like Visor. But yeah, it's awesome that they've enabled it. So because I think, you know, Beat Saber, out of all the games that you're going to cast on the Quest, is probably the number one.
Yeah, it's a party game.
Yeah, exactly. And also, while we're talking about Beat Saber, it's worth mentioning they've also got a new DLC music pack, which is launching with 10 new tracks. Yep. And is due for release on Monday next week. So stay tuned for that. If the last music track is indicative of how much it's going to cost, it's roughly about 10 British pounds, $12 US. So
it's going. I feel like it's going to be a big one. I don't know about you all, but I don't know. It's going to be a Hyperino pack.
Your brother was teasing that it might be Marshmallow or someone like that.
Yeah, like we have been doing some challenges here of who it could be. I still stand with one prediction I had for such a long time, is that there is going to be an artist. I don't think it's going to be this pack, where an artist is going to release its album in Beat Saber.
Kanye West.
Okay, that would be epic. I don't know. That would make Beat Saber the most famous title out there, I think.
Yeah. So that is Beat Saber. Some awesome news from Beat Saber team this week. Let's quickly talk about Black Mirror then. And Rowdy sort of touched on it very briefly. And I've mentioned it a few times previously on the podcast before. And I keep mentioning it because I think it's one of those shows that if you're into VR or you're into tech, it's kind of one of those shows that you probably should be watching. It is dark and it is kind of bleak. So just be aware of that.
Not all of them.
Don't expect a happy story. 90% of them are all pretty dark and bleak.
Yeah.
But also, like Nathie hinted at the beginning, just be warned that the first episode of the very first season is super, super weird and is not indicative of the show.
Can you give me a hint to the subject? I'm not sure if I've seen it. Oh, it's the pig one. Okay.
Yeah, you know.
That was a good episode.
Yeah. So basically, if you're not familiar with the show, it's a bit like The Twilight Zone in that each episode of the show is completely standalone with an overarching story about how technology is bad or can have a negative impact on humanity. That's kind of like the gist of the show. But the latest season, which is season 5, just dropped this week on Netflix, and it has 3 episodes, each of which are about an hour long each. And 2 episodes actually feature VR, the first one featuring it more than the other one. And I won't spoil anything, but sort of Rowdy sort of hinted at it a little bit at the beginning. And it sort of revolves around 2 men that are using VR to play games together, but end up forming an unusual relationship whilst in the VR world. And it kind of, it raises some really interesting questions about, like, you know, relationships in VR, the future of it, what it could be like, and how that could have an impact on our real lives and real relationships.
I can actually connect a story to that, because when I was like, Mike left VRChat after a while because he was running out of juice. But then I was like, maybe I should check out some more rooms. And I went into this one, it was like a hot spa, and I joined it. There were 2 people in there.
Okay.
And in a corner, they were just making love together.
They what?
Yes, that's what happens in VRChat a lot.
Wow.
Because you have full body tracking, and then, well, it's up to your imagination what you can do with that. But yes, they were just in there. I was like, well, then make a private room. But I was like, what the heck is this?
They might be a little voyeuristic, and maybe that's what they want. They want people to discover them.
Yeah, of course. Otherwise, it wouldn't be open. But I wasn't interested. So yeah, it happens. It already happens in VR, where people marry, where they make love together, stuff like that, get real, personal.
It's been going on for a while, though. Like, I mean, especially if you look at like more like the Asia culture, like the kind of stuff that they have there already. Like you can marry to like manga characters and anime persona, and personally, I mean, I'm fairly open-minded in these kind of things. I've always been. I like, live and let live. But I have to say, like the last few episodes of Black Mirror, I have a little bit the impression that the quality dropped a bit. Like the previous seasons, there were like I don't know, like I just think that it's a little bit more to shock now than it really revolves around the technology. Since I really, especially in those VR episodes, I have the impression that they forgot to touch on a lot of things, like the subtleties of VR as well. And I didn't really like the direction they were heading it into, like really focusing on like, well, I mean, they always focus on a certain aspect, but it didn't feel very realistic for me. Like not like a plausible future at all.
Yeah, when I say VR, they were kind of like logging in using like a brain interface rather than like a VR headset that we traditionally know.
Well, like what Musk was talking about then last year, right? The kind of cognitive patch into the system.
But now Nathie said that he bumped into 2 people like making love, as he so kindly refers to it as in VRChat. I just have this vision of people like getting it on in the corner, and then a mushroom standing there just watching.
But then actually,
we got a name for that. We got a name for that already.
They could make an episode about that, I would say. Call me. Netflix, call me, please.
They call that the Mushroom Kingdom.
So that is Black Mirror, well worth going and checking out. So the next bit of quick news is about virtual desktop on Oculus Quest. Now, we know this is an awesome application that you can use to stream your PC desktop remotely to your Oculus Quest, whether you're in the same house and you want to stream a game or a movie to your bedroom, for example, away from your PC, or you can even remotely access your desktop PC from anywhere in the world to do simple tasks as long as you've got an internet connection. You had a demo of this, right? OC5 Zim on the go.
Well,
like remotely patching into a PC like halfway across the world from the developer.
Yes, I did. Yeah. He was literally, I think, 1,500 miles away from his PC, and he let me log onto it and kind of browse his files and all that. And nothing shocking in there, but I was really impressed at the low latency and the fact that even worked.
Yeah, exactly. And that is really cool in itself. But what we didn't know is that virtual desktop can also be used to play SteamVR content
straight through
to your Quest. So you can play SteamVR games from your PC streamed wirelessly to your Quest, and that's whether you're in the same house or, again, could be at the other side of the world. But as long as you have a fast internet connection, it
That's
works.
the trick. As long as you have a fast internet connection.
Well, that's right, because we know from testing this, you really need a 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi connection.
Non-stop, constant,
yeah. But it's interesting that, we're only, a few weeks away from the Quest being launched, and we already have 3 options.
3 options
to stream PC VR content.
It's amazing what a passionate community can do, right? They really at like the edge of technology, like 5 gigahertz, which is like the new thing. Is like it's not even fast enough for us yet, because we already want to go beyond that to use these kind of technologies. I think it's amazing.
In general, they have modified the hell out of that VR headset.
Yeah, and the thing is, the 3 options, if you're not familiar, there's obviously virtual desktop, which we just talked about. You've got RiftCat, which is like €15 for a lifetime license. And then you've got ALVR, which is free.
We have a question from Flippo side. He's asking, does the audio pass through as well?
Yes.
Yeah. And we have the developer in the chats proving that too. So hello to Guy Godin.
Guys, awesome.
Welcome to the show, Guy. But yeah, I haven't had the opportunity to test virtual desktop out yet, but I've tested it out using RiffCat, and latency is good as long as you have a fast router. But touch controller mapping was an issue before, but they've resolved that now, so that's super good. But the big difference, of course, with virtual desktop over the other two solutions, RiffCat and ALVR, is that virtual desktop doesn't need to be sideloaded. You can just download it.
Let's say it's an official app, and the other ones are more,
third party. Yeah. So if you've been on the fence about trying, streaming PSVR content to the Quest, and you don't want to go through the hassle of sideloading stuff, because I know that can be daunting, especially for people who've never really dabbled with that before, then check out virtual desktop. It works apparently. I know Remarcus did a video on his channel that's sort of testing it out, and it looked pretty solid. So go and check it out.
I'm surprised that Oculus is fine with that though, as an official app, and then also having people to go to different platforms to play VR games. I don't know. I'm okay with it as long as it works and it's great and it's fun. Do it, but I do wonder what they think about that.
What they think about it, yeah, of course. So have you guys tried this? In any of those methods?
I've tried virtual desktop. I'm planning a video on virtual desktop, but no, the one thing I would say to Nathie's point is that I think I might have mentioned this last podcast as well, but if I was to guess, OC6, I think we'll see a solution like that from Oculus. I get that feeling, because they've kind of brought out, casting was kind of a thing that year and a half ago now they brought, and it does work, but it has barriers, and they need something that's a little bit more vanilla and direct.
Do you really think that Oculus is going to help people to get onto Steam or any other platform? I don't think so.
They don't get the money from because they don't get the money from the
no.
It's a fair point. Or Epic, for instance.
Epic, yeah, soon.
What if they enabled it so you could just play Oculus home content?
They'll probably find a way around that fairly soon.
That would make more sense, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised either. Having the Nintendo Switch of VR in a headset that you can take on the go and play standalone games and then connect to your PC as well is pretty much the headset that we've wanted. And the Quest has that capability, but not officially, if you know what I mean. So
I also don't think the majority is interested in doing this because they bought it because it's standalone and not because they want to hook it up to a PC anymore.
Correct.
True. But I do think there's a big audience of people out there that are interested in doing these things as well. Yeah, but not as big. I wouldn't say it's the majority of people for sure.
If you know what you missed, then of course you want to go back. But people who bought the Quest for the very first time, they don't even know there is even a library on.
The thing it stays is the ease of use. If it's easy to use, then people will use it. If it's easy to go and start your PC games and load them up on the Quest, if that is easy to do, then people will do so. And that's the main thing for the Quest.
People will also demand this. So if you start if you start now with this platform, and this is capable, and you can just take any PC game that you've been pining for and waiting for on Quest, and maybe a couple of years away, and if they bring it, it'll be down sampled so it'll fit on Quest. But you can play it today, and it's 2 steps to get into it. This will spread like wildfire to an extent to that population that you're talking about, Mike. Yeah. And they're going to put their claws in this, and they're going to be like, do not take this away from me. In the same way that the Beat Saber community has responded as well, right? I mean, if you took that away now and you said, we're going to take custom songs away from Quest, that wouldn't be a happy crowd.
I mean, that's in the end because most people support an open platform, and Oculus is a closed ecosystem. True. So people want to have a shared ecosystem, and they will make everything happen to keep that in their hands.
It's the internet.
It's the internet, yes.
To give you an example, though, like this week I played Five Nights at Freddy's on the Quest, but wirelessly streamed from my PC. It worked great. It worked great. No, it worked fine. And the thing is, because the Quest has an OLED display, it suits playing a game like that better on the Quest because it's a darker game. It's all in dark
But
sort
just
of
getting
areas.
away
Even
from the
worse.
cable, like just getting away from the cable's enough of a unique selling point for me. Like I'll take anything. Desktop VR.
Just buy a super fast router and it works. So go check it out.
But you still need a computer as well that is capable of running VR.
Of course, yeah. And that's the big barrier. I get it. But whilst we're on the subject of the Quest, let's talk about Against Gravity because, interestingly, they launched their Quest on the Quest this week. So, maybe if you've bought a Quest and you've spent all your money on games already and you're waiting for payday to come along and you don't have much to play, just go get Rec Room. It's free. And they launched their first co-op adventure on the Quest called Quest for the Golden Trophy. Man, there's a lot of quests. So basically, you team up with 3 other people online co-op, and you get to work together to take down these little minions using swords, bows, crossbows, and basically go on this like epic adventure to try and get this golden trophy. And it's a lot of fun. Like, Zim said at the beginning, he's sort of playing this with his family. And the thing is, like, it's not easy though, right?
Oh, no, hang on. I didn't play this one with my family.
Oh, okay.
Correction there. I played with some close friends who also watched the stream. And yes, it's hard. I've actually never in my life beaten a Quest in Rec Room until today. We beat it.
Same.
We finally went and we beat this, and I am super proud. But the only way we really beat it was we got to the final boss, who's a feckin' toughie, by the way. And this kid who we picked up, who was kind of our 4th, wingman, he's like, no, here, you 3. I'm not going to spoil this, by the way. So take it the hard way. But he's like, you 3 need this weapon. I'll take these. I'm gonna basically lure him. I don't know. Some MMO player's gonna tell me what that is, but lure him with this, and then you guys are gonna hit him. And we killed him in 5 seconds. At the end of that, my game crashed out, like completely crashed out to Quest Oculus Home desktop. And the 3 guys are like, I got back in about a minute, and I'm like, shit, did we beat it? And they're like, yeah, we beat it. And we all turned around, and it's like, where are you, Zim? So I missed it, but by microseconds. Like, oh.
Did you get the reward for it?
No, I didn't. They all did. I got cheated. I have to play it all again. But anyway, it was really good, and I have to say the bad guys are good.
You didn't beat it today.
Don't even
right?
start, Rowdy.
You didn't beat it.
It's so hard. It really requires dedication.
It went like, oh no! I didn't play with my family. Like those noobs, no way.
But the thing is, like, we've tried to play a Quest before, the 4 of us, right?
Oh my God, we got owned so bad.
The pirate one, and it was so freaking hard. And like you, I've never beaten a Rec Room Quest before. They are that difficult. So if you're up for a challenge and you get some nice players that are willing to help you out, then it's a lot of fun. But yeah, if you're listening Against Gravity, then you owe Zim a golden trophy.
Yeah. Give him a bucket of tokens.
He dropped out.
No, but I have to say, Rec Room, comparing it to VRChat. VRChat is pretty low load times, pretty fast, like Nathie said, like it runs pretty well. Rec Room is pretty slow to load. It's almost like a full minute to load it. And then once it's going, it's pretty good. But I have had now a good number, probably 15 black drop out of game. Just
oh, really?
Yeah. There are problems. There are definitely problems in the game, and I don't know what's causing it, but it drops out. Yeah.
Interestingly, though, have any of you experienced any sort of like overheating issues with the Quest, where like on the go, where it kicks you out of a game or an app or anything like that?
Well, it could the thing is, with the Go, it's always telling you like, listen, I'm overheating, I'm shutting myself off. But I do feel like sometimes it's getting hot enough to let a game crash, but it's not telling you; it just crashes. But it never showed up this message of like, listen, I'm so hot, I need to turn off. But I do think it affects some games. If you're playing the Golden Trophy, it's gonna get real hot. It will, because there's so much going on, and then there might be this climax where Zim is talking about, where you have this boss. Like it could be too much for the device, and it just crashes.
It was definitely something, because when it was trying to load whatever the final animation sequence is, just as you beat the final boss, that's what killed it today. But I have had cold crashes as well, where we start a paintball match and the device has been on less than 5 minutes, and same thing happens, crash the desktop, and I have to get my friends to re-invite me to the game. So anyway, they'll stabilize it, I'm sure, over time with patches. They have already been patching the game, but
I was gonna ask, how hot does it need to get before it crashes? And then I thought it would have to get super hot.
Yeah.
I think Zim is insinuating that it's game related rather than hardware
exactly.
related.
Right.
And we've never had a thermal message, a thermal warning so far.
No.
The device is good at giving you those 2 warnings. Once at 20%, and then 10% to tell you it's almost out of battery, and then it just goes to sleep.
To sleep. Yeah. Okay, so that is Oculus Quest news. Let's talk about the final bit of quick news this week, and that is PSVR, because right now it's PlayStation Days of Play, which is, their sort of celebration of PlayStation. They're running this up. They started yesterday. They're running it up until the 17th of June. And to kick things off, Sony are launching a new limited edition 1 terabyte PS4 in steel black, which is very sexy.
Oh, my.
It's got the iconic triangle, circles, X and square on the front of it, sort of embossed on the front. Looks super slick. That's $299 US. But also alongside this console, there's loads of deals going on. So you can save up to 70% off select titles at the moment.
70%.
Up to 70%, yeah.
Oh.
And also save on PS Plus membership during this time as well. So if you want to sort of sign up to their subscription service, now's a good time to do it. And the thing is, like, with games coming out for PSVR, over the last couple of weeks, like Five Nights at Freddy's, Trover Saves the Universe, Blood and Truth, like now is a perfect time. If you own a PlayStation 4 and you've been on the fence about getting a PSVR, get it now while these amazing deals are going on. Because like here in the UK, there's an incredible deal. I think
Stupid. I saw it. I was like, "There's no way." Go on.
Was it the one
Tell
that I
us,
forwarded?
Mike. Yes, that's the one I saw yesterday. Yeah.
And the thing is, like, I was trying to find a comparable deal in the US, but I can't find one.
No.
So it seems like a UK exclusive deal that Game in the UK are running. And basically, for
Who's even living there?
Only
me,
the
not
best.
me.
Only 50% of the podcast.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
The better
It's
half.
50%. Yep.
So basically, for 209 of your British pounds, you can get a PSVR kit without Move controllers. I should state that up front. So you get basically the headset and the camera and the box and everything you need to connect it to your PS4. But this is the amazing part. You get some incredible games. You get Astrobot, Wipeout, Skyrim, PlayStation VR Worlds, Doom VFR, Resident Evil 7, and Blood and Truth.
No way.
£9.
No way.
That is the best
7
deal
games.
I've ever seen for the PSVR.
With the
Best deal
hardware
ever.
and the camera and the PSVR and all those titles. It's like, it's stupid. It's absolutely ridiculous, the deals that we're seeing. It's absolutely silly. And I think it was, if you want the Move controllers and another bundled game as well, I can't remember the game that they bundled. It was a good one, again, for $299. Like, there are some very stingingly good, leave Xbox style deals right now. And again, to tell you guys the same thing, I wasn't really an Xbox guy anymore. I was a PC guy, but I bought into PS4 for the PS4 Pro and the PSVR at launch price. I absolutely do not regret my decision. That is like, if you have one headset and you have money for a second, PSVR is so good. We keep saying it, and that bundle is ridiculous. That would last you months.
If you care about content, then PSVR is still the best headset out there.
So ridiculous.
Yeah,
to this point.
and the two standout titles, Astrobot and Blood and Truth, are incredible games. Like Blood and Truth,
We're
like
not even talking about Resident Evil yet.
Yeah, Resident Evil.
Resident
My
Evil in
days,
there.
yeah.
That's super long. That's like 30 hours. This is crazy.
Yeah.
Isn't there any other company who sells VR hardware right now who knows how to recycle pretty much content and puts them in new bundles all the time and really promotes them like they are new games again? I don't think anyone does that. I don't think anyone knows how to do that.
Oculus
Only
did that
Sony.
with the Quest, they
Yeah, but-
recycle a lot of their old games.
Yeah, okay,
Quest,
but
yeah.
like the marketing that Sony does everywhere, like Oculus, their marketing usually only reaches in the US and not really in Europe. But Sony, it's like, hey, listen, here we are again with some new bundles. This is what we're doing.
Yeah.
So
But what you're saying
Right.
is critically important, Nathie, I think. I mean, aside from like daily deals that like you can see on Steam or on Oculus Home, new players come in, they play the games that they like to play. Like, let's imagine Rowdy buys a new headset and he's new to VR, right? He sees the stuff that everyone's hyping up, but does he see the last 4 years of fantastic titles? Like, it's not easy to dig into that, and there aren't that many places you can go for that kind of advice, So it's actually really important that manufacturers do this. Unfortunately, in this game, PlayStation and Sony, they're the only ones who have that hardware side of the market for bundling,
is it
right?
PlayStation and Sony themselves that are running this? Because since you're saying it's UK only, so who?
Sony Europe, I think.
Yeah, so basically, like they're running this whole Days of Play campaign. But yeah, so they're subsidizing the games anyway on the PlayStation Store, and I would imagine they're giving exclusive deals to various outlets. And Game in the UK just happens to have this amazing bundle.
Yeah. So in the chat, Chris Hanny says, who is one of the developers of Space Pirate Trainer, says that Astrobot was the first game he 100% completed.
Yeah, I love that game so much. It's just such a quality title. And if you own a PSVR, like Blood and Truth was my game of the year in VR this year so far. But Astrobot was way up there last year. It's just such a solid game, and if you enjoy platformers, full stop, never not just platformers in VR, but just platformers full stop, you owe it to yourself to play Astrobot, because it's, in my opinion, up there with the quality of like Mario Odyssey on the Switch, or
Exactly.
Yeah. Also, another like Hussein says, Sony has been advertising Blood and Truth on UK television commercials on ITV, Sky Sports, etc.
It makes sense to advertise it in the UK, right? Because it's based, and it's from a London-based studio, so I mean, it's based in the UK.
England is my city. You know, what can I say? So let's hand it over to Zim then. Let's get the lowdown on the games releasing next week. What you should be playing.
Boom.
Maybe what you shouldn't be playing.
Do I have any of those in there?
You can never be sure.
You can never be sure. I do kind of tend to dice it up and slice it up and give you guys sometimes a funny meal that looks a bit like, what's that? What was it last week? We did we did Clean VR. That was the if you want to know about Clean VR, go back and listen to last week's podcast. So I will start this first one off with a question. And this is a dicey question to divide us, because I'm actually curious. I don't know how this goes in the international market. I know what Mike's going to say. There's a letter at the end of the alphabet. Mike, how would you pronounce that? The letter at the end of the alphabet. This isn't a hard exam. How do you pronounce the letter at the... Just say the letter at the end of the alphabet.
I don't get it. Why?
Go on.
Just say it.
Go on.
No.
Oh, man, Rowdy, do it.
Rowdy?
The Z?
Okay.
Z?
Yeah, and Nathie?
Yeah, Z.
Okay. And Mike, finally?
Said.
Oh, so you got him to do it after peer pressure. Now we know we can crack him. All right. So this game, to the Americans' dismay, is called Zed. Have any of you heard of Zed?
Yes.
Is it a zombie game?
This is the thing, right? So, okay, Nathie, you tell me, before I run the trailer or anything, you tell me, what do you know about Zed?
It's a simulation of dementia.
Very, very good. Yes, and actually, do you guys remember Cyan from
it's
Firmament?
true. Oh, I was already preparing myself for saying something.
No, you got it. Yeah.
Okay.
It's basically exactly that. So there's a fella, the father in this actually has difficulty retaining memories and recovering them, and you play. I'll give their blurb anyway, so I do it rightly. So Zed is the story of an aging artist lost in regret and the haze of dementia. Inside the dreamscape of this creative mind come undone, players reassemble the artist's fragmented memories into a final lasting legacy, a loving gift to his granddaughter. Making its debut on PC with optional VR support for Rift and Vive, Zed is a surreal trip with an unexpected narrative that unfolds across fanciful, fractured lands. Spanning regret, reconciliation, and redemption, it's a bittersweet story that both deeply and personal and undeniably universal. Now,
has anyone ever played To the Moon? Played To the Moon?
Oh, I know what you're talking about. It does sound very similar to that.
It sounds very similar to that one.
But I remember, didn't Nathie play this once, and he mentioned it on his highlight of the week once?
No, that was a different dementia experience.
Okay. Yeah. I was trying to struggle to think about what that game was. What was that game?
So the reason why I got super funny about like mentioning like the way I say things is because people take the piss out of me all the time.
sorry.
On my YouTube channel, like comments because of the way I say H. Now because I say HTC.
Yeah, and I'd say HTC.
Obviously in the US it's pronounced HTC. HTC, but obviously my UK accent, this is just the way I talk.
Sounds like
they say.
Have you been practicing it, Mike? Are you thinking of maybe switching over for your American audience? Because it sounds like you've got that
them.
nailed.
I will never. I will never bend. I'll never bend the knee.
I mean, I've been over here like 19 years, so I say Zed, and I don't say H actually. That's one thing I never adopted. So I still sit on the other side of the pond on that one. But anyway, Zed is interesting to me because although it's being developed by, I don't know if they call it Eager Games, EAGRE. Egri Games. The publisher, which is the new publishing arm of Cyan, is Cyan Ventures. So this was out on the 4th of June. So this is out, and you can actually play this and all that. £13.99, so probably about $16, $17. PSVR game. But if you're waiting eagerly like I am for Firmament, and you're looking for some eye candy, that seems like a good one to go for. But I do want to mention that it's got mixed Steam reviews so far, and I thought I'd just give you a little blurb of two of those because I think it colors it really well. This is meant to be about a 2-hour experience, slightly less than, and it's definitely something that is interesting. So if you're expecting a long-lasting puzzle game, as you'd expect from Cyan regarding their missed and abduction times before, you'll be sorely disappointed. Zed is not a puzzle game in the slightest. It's more of a walking simulator built around gorgeous visuals and a rich narrative along with great vocal performances. So this is more like a ride-along movie. This other person said, Zed was fine, a pretty game with nice sound, but I didn't have fun. I love Cyan and all of its games, but this was just disappointing. I wanted to like it, but didn't enjoy it at all, and I hate that. So I did find definitely people in comments on Steam were saying, I loved it, it was short, I wanted more, and it was visually appealing, and on the other side saying, it doesn't. I suppose it does sell itself as like a puzzle game when you see the trailer and all that. It looks like it's going to be a puzzle game, and that's why I wanted to give a caveat here. If you're into Cyan stuff, it's not really a Cyan game. But then again, they produced it. They didn't develop it. So there you go.
Right, that makes sense. Okay, cool.
So there's that one. All right, next up, we got 3 this week. Thought I'd scatter it across a few things. This one is the Wizards, which some of you have dabbled in before. So I will. So the Wizards is surprisingly enough coming to Quest, and has landed on Quest now. 6th of June is when it landed. $24 US, $24.99, and also is available from before on PC and PSVR. So
I played it on Quest.
Yeah. The nice thing about this is, and I haven't checked this yet because I do have this is going to be difficult for me to check, but maybe someone in chat is in this predicament where the Wizards is open for cross-buy. So if you own it on Rift, you should be able to play it on Quest. So maybe you got your Quest, go check it out. I don't know how that works. Does it automatically appear in your library as something you can just download? Do you know about this, Mike?
Apparently, it just shows the game is free in the store. Right.
Okay. Perfect. So anyway, this is an award-winning action-adventure VR game. One of the things that really stands out about it is gesture-based spellcasting, somewhat similar to what we've seen in like Orbis, for instance, on Quest as well. It's got locomotion options now that have been built in, which is nice because it's something that was lacking in the original title, and I kind of was holding back, saying like, I don't just want to do teleport. Please let me, slide around the world. So they have added that. So that 360-degree freedom is one of the things that people, again, on Steam are really liking, and in the comments in terms of the Oculus Home reviews that are there as well. So using motion controls to destroy your enemies, being able to spin around 360, cast fireballs, and I've heard that if you're good at like NBA Jam and you can give the old 3-point score to the hoop, then you're good at casting fireballs in the Wizards.
The cool thing to do there is the way that you cast them. It feels very fluid and natural to do it that way. I think they do that really well.
Like it feels real, and it's different per spell, isn't it? Yeah,
it's different for each spell.
How did you find it, Nathie, on the Quest?
It's good. Yeah, it's pretty good. Let's say it's better than the version I played on Go.
Oh yeah.
Oh god. I didn't know there was a Go version.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was more of a wave-based spellcaster game, if you remember. Yeah.
I kind of would like to see from the developers a kind of a table, like a table that outlines, right, okay, here's all the different versions of the game, and here's what's in it, like, what you can expect to see, because otherwise, how do you know what's different in PSVR versus PC versus Quest?
I think the Go was the only version that was different from the rest.
Like properly different.
Yeah, I think so.
That Eve cut down version of what was it? Eve? I can't remember what that was called. Anyway, last one is one that about 3 weeks ago, Mike was begging me on his hands and knees to do this one. Not really. He suggested it lightly, but seeing it, I was like, oh, this looks cool. And then it had this like June date for the longest time. And I was like, for feck's sake, come on, guys, put your game out already. And sometimes, like with Five Nights at Freddy's, we get caught in that limbo. So this was, and some of you have played this, Swords of Gargantua. So Swords of Gargantua is a pretty nifty title. Again, it reminded me immediately of Serious Sam in terms of the scale in the game. It's a VR online action game, which you can play either single player or multiplayer with up to 4 players. And it's set in a world dominated by a race of giants called the Gargantua. You and 3 other players will join together and fight in epic real-time battles against the Gargantua and all of its forces, all in finely tuned realistic sword battles. So that's Gargantua. The things I liked about this, what I could see about it in terms of the Quest version, and this launched, as I said, on the 6th this was $20 US or 15.49 pounds. It's got cross-buy, so again, get it on one platform. If you've got a PC, then you get it on Quest as well. 100 single-player missions, 30 weapons to unlock, and of course, either the choice to play it single-player or multiplayer, which is something that I think is great. Who of you have played this?
So I played this on Quest.
Well,
I played it yesterday.
Mike. Tell us, how was the date?
Well, the thing is, I was super intrigued because Palmer Luckey himself, the legend, was posting on Twitter about how great this game was. So I was like, okay. So I went and checked it out, and I was really disappointed. It's a sword combat game, but basically a wave sword combat game. And I agree with what Palmer says in that the sword combat itself is kind of interesting, but it's nothing more advanced than what we've seen in like Asgard's Wrath or the upcoming game from Shell Games called Until They Fall, I think it's called, and most recently in Vader Immortal as well in the sort of
but maybe it's more talking about the technical aspects and like the sword deflection and those kind of things, and like rather than the actual game.
But again, it's those mechanics are very similar to those other games I've mentioned as well. And what makes this game worse than those games is that it doesn't look particularly nice.
Yeah.
No.
How's the HUD? Because that's the thing that always lets me down in these kinds of games.
I don't like that kind of stuff.
Basically, it moves to a third-person camera when you get knocked down. Which is kind of a bit unusual.
No, like From Other Sons. Do you remember that in From Other Sons? Do you remember that that mode where you ghost out of your body and then move your character and then you ghost back?
That was an option. That was an option. You could just turn it off if you didn't like that.
Wait, so the goal is to defeat this giant with his minions, and that's it. Is there like a progression system? Is there a story to it? Is there what are you really doing in this?
So the story is very loose. You do get different swords and weapons you can unlock. But basically, you're just fighting arena after arena after arena of bad guys that get very repetitive. They're the same enemies over and over again. And I was just shocked, to be honest, that Palmer was promoting such a, in my opinion, average game.
Such an average game.
And I think
you wouldn't say it's finger-breakingly good.
I wouldn't break my finger for this game. No, God, no. I'm surprised PD has. I don't know how he feels about it because I think he spent more time in it than I did. And I think he was playing some of the online stuff because I just played on my own. But yeah, I personally, from what I played, half an hour, I'm not interested in this game at all.
And you think that even with 3 other people, no.
Might be fun with 3 other people, like if we play together. But it'd be because we're all together that we're having.
It's
fun.
more the chit chat usually that makes games fun.
But would you? So, for instance, if you can imagine us playing together, right, which is a rare event. If you imagine us playing together, do you see us playing it a second time?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
No. So yeah. That's what I feel about it.
So there's no free demo available, so you can try it at least and kind of know what this is, or is it just you got to buy it and then you're
Well, you got to buy it, but Oculus have a really good refund policy. If you play the game for less than 2 hours, and you can refund it within the first week, I believe.
It's very similar to Steam, so wherever you buy it,
you don't really have a risk there if you want to try it out. But personally, I would go and check out like PD's playthrough or some other YouTube playthrough, and then you'll kind of understand what I mean by the repetitive.
The opinions in the chat are a little bit separate as well. Like we have Chris Haney saying that he actually liked the multiplayer. The single player he didn't find that exciting, but it was fun all the same. Eric Hartley also said that he understands the criticism, but he did enjoy the game. Multiplayer is more like a horde mode with other players, and there used to be a demo apparently. Some people are saying
it was a beta, an online.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the beta was free a few weeks ago.
So I mean, in terms of the releases, so we've got again just to recap: Zed was 4th of June. We have the Wizards, Swords of Gargantua. I think those are the ones. Anyway, the 3 ones that I felt worth mentioning this week. So there you go.
Awesome. So let's move into the first topic then, and this is some news from Big Box VR. These are the developers that previously made Smashbox Arena, which was a VR player game. You guys know? Did you guys play Smashbox Arena?
Yeah, it was good. It's very solid. I'm surprised they didn't do better, to be honest, because I think it should have done better.
I think we're still in the early days of VR, but I think multiplayer games, it's all about the community. Unless you get a community rally around a game, it can be very, very difficult to sustain it yourself.
They tried. I mean, they tried very hard with all kinds of updates to make that happen. But this, I think that game was a very early multiplayer.
It was. But they've been working on a game in the background now for a while called Population 1. Now, this is a VR battle royale game. And the battle royale genre, it's still huge today. Games like PUBG, Fortnite led the explosion of the genre, and it's still as popular as it is today. And we've got some, battle royale games in VR, like Standout. BAM is another one. But these guys, they're really sort of pushing this game to be the king of battle royale games. And the most awesome thing is that this week we had some news from the development team via email newsletter that the game is also going to be coming to Oculus Quest and will be able to play alongside PSVR headsets.
Brilliant.
So that's awesome. You're expanding your player base exponentially just by having it on Quest as well. So that's a really.
I think it's the only battle royale game in VR and where you can build as well. The other ones are all like you spawn and that's it, and you got to shoot a bit and survive. But this one actually has building in it.
Yeah, and the other cool thing about this game is they use a system that they're calling free motion, and this basically allows players to climb anything. So anything in the environment you can just go up to with your hands and climb, and you can then, once you get to the top of a tower, for example, you can just leap off and glide into the sort of battle zone. And like you said, building, because building is such a key element of Fortnite. Not like I'm a Fortnite player, because I suck at that game.
Sure.
Yeah. Code VR Oasis, for your skins in Fortnite. But building is such a key element. But like you say, they've never implemented that in another VR sort of battle royale game. So it's really interesting that they've added this to this game, and it's going to make playing this game way more tactical and strategic.
I'm a little bit worried though that they might not be taken up a little bit too much. I mean, I don't know how big the development team is by now, but they're now releasing on multiple platforms. They're doing things that haven't been done in virtual reality yet.
Well, I
haven't played it yet, of course. I mean, nobody has, I think, of us.
Well, I do know that they were getting a lot of support from NVIDIA when we saw them at Gamescom last year. It was one of NVIDIA's showcase games actually for ray tracing, because believe it or not, this game actually features ray tracing on PC version. It's one of the first VR games that I think even includes ray tracing in their VR game. So if you own an RTX card, it's going to be super nice looking. But it's going to be interesting to see how they optimize this to then run on the Quest, to have a comparable experience so that you can actually compete with PC players as well. But I do know that this game has been getting a lot of attention, and I believe it got a lot of investment as well. So
yeah, rightly so. It's one of those games that I hope that won't fail. You finally get to play and you go like, oh, this is not what I expected it to be.
Well, like you say, like I don't think any of us have played it, but people that I know that are very competitive in like traditional multiplayer scene, like I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Drifter before. He's a big Call of Duty player and Apex player, but he's played this and he was saying it like it's freaking awesome. And I sort of, he's a very critical guy, so I sort of take that. I think he's a trustworthy source. But yeah, like it looks interesting. You've got this expansive square kilometer world. You can climb everything, like I said, and you can play online solo or in squads. And it also is going to feature some single player missions as well if you're a solo player, like Rowdy and me.
I don't know. I'm also very curious about this one. It's not extremely overhyped. I feel like they have also not been advertising it that much. Like last time that I heard of them was at Gamescom, exactly. But yeah, I don't know if they can deliver. Fine. If they can make it work cross-platform too, then okay, bring it on.
Initially, it was going to be releasing in early 2019, and they've obviously pushed that back now. And I don't know if that's because of the Quest development of the game or not. But I do know it's been in the works for a long time, so I've got good high hopes for this game anyway. But go on.
If any of the developers would be listening, if you want this game to like do really well on YouTube, make sure you have camera modes for something like this. That'd be really
and codes for Mike so he can make some money.
Me.
Do you make money off of those codes though?
He can use it.
Every code I get from developers, I sell them on eBay and make money. That's not actually true. I'd get in a lot of trouble.
I imagine that.
What Mike meant was with the Epic Games Store, you can enter a code.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
that's how I always
code VR
buying something.
That's how I always get my free keys. I just email developers saying that I'm Mike and I get all the keys I want. And then I sell them on eBay.
It's kind of sad, but like that stuff goes down. People try to pretend to be.
I'm sure it does happen. And
hey, I'm Nathie. I want to review your game, please. Can I have key?
I think we've all had developers already reach out to us and saying like, why do you want so many keys? And I'm like, I didn't ask for a single key. Like,
no.
Like I've had it already multiple times that people pretend to be.
Yep.
And I'm sure we all.
Oh yeah, we've had that. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, you're right. Like I don't know why developers send us multiple keys of games. I guess for giveaways and stuff. But
yeah, that's usually the reason.
Game design wise in Population 1, I'm really interested. So first off, it was kind of weird to see the circle now be a square. I don't know if that's needed, but they decided to make if you didn't notice that, the zoning as it was coming in, it's like, great, you have to do it just to be different? Or, because like that's going to make, it's going to be odd. Anyway, the second thing that I thought game design wise looks really conflicting. Let's imagine a world where Fortnite doesn't exist and everybody's happy. So the point about that is building and Battle Royale don't really blend that well. Like, what am I going to do? Build a base and then camp in it? Or like...
Well, Fortnite's been doing it, and they're pretty much the biggest one out there.
If they've done pretty well.
Imagine the world doesn't have Fortnite in it. You know what I mean?
I do understand what you're talking about. If they made a blueprint and they built the game on that and they really thought about it themselves on how to do it, then it's fine. But if they were like, okay, we are going to make a Battle Royale VR game, we know it's going to sell because Battle Royale, I mean, you can just put that sticker on a game and it just sells better than, let's say, a puzzle game or a shooter or whatever.
Yes, definitely.
But if they just copy pasted the idea of like, we got to have building in there, and they just started making the game, and then suddenly it's like, oh, the building also needs to be in there, and let's just do something that has not been. Yeah, I get your point. We'll see. I don't know. Like the only thing that I know is that some people tried it, they cannot talk about it, and that they have the same trailer that they play all the time that everyone is watching. So no one really knows what it's like. No one really knows what it's all about. Yeah. I just don't hope they purposely have been, keeping it under the radar to,
Because the reason I say it is I think I see it as a conflict, right? If you see the way Fortnite is played, it's a twitchy mouse game, almost like harkening back to like the Quake days, right? Where you're building and you're using angles to, in third person, get an angle on your opponent, build, right? And that's a skill, and that's a skill set. Do that in VR in first person? How's that going to translate to a game mechanic that's not going to make you feel claustrophobic, and how does it help improve the game experience? So I'm really keen to play the game myself, because there's the thing about Battle Royale in VR is it feels amazing. It feels great. And I think when somebody absolutely nails it, there's going to be a title that's a heavyweight that takes over. Because every time there's a title that does it well, it garners huge community around it for about 4 months.
Yeah, like the battle one. Was it called Battlefield or Battle something? Was it forgettable already?
Yeah. I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know which one you mean.
What I'd love to see is like a VR Twitch streamer just being dedicated to Population 1, like the ninja of VR, that someone just dedicates themselves just to this game. And if they become super popular, I would be totally behind that. Zim, step up to the plate. This is your moment to shine.
It's called Virtual Battlegrounds, by the way.
Virtual Battlegrounds.
But that's also why I'm saying, like, it would be smart from them if they want this game to be big as well, that they would include these kind of camera tools and these kind of things that would make a stream, or because I mean, a big part of PUBG, of Fortnite, is streaming. Yeah. And they have a lot of nice kind of scenes and that kind of stuff. It looks all very nicely. So it would be nice if we could have those options in VR as well, especially if you aim to get to that market.
Aside from like the creator side of it and showing an audience, one of the things that was very popular back when they had Survivor games in DayZ was a competition. And so you had what was it? 16 pairs of 2 people, so 32 people competing live. You could watch all their streams independently, and that was like the best sports-like showing that I've ever watched in my life. I mean, it was amazing to follow that down to the last people who were alive in a competition.
Well, I know that Stadia, like Google Stadia, are doing something very similar to that with multi-streaming, right? So that would be kind of an interesting concept. But yeah, I agree. The way this game looks on a live stream or a video is going to be very important, as well as the community behind the success of this game. But, if you want to pre-order it, use code VR Oasis so I can eat some food next week. Thank you very much.
Some beans.
Yeah. So let's move on to the last topic of the show then, and that is E3. This is huge. It's the biggest gaming event of the year. Conferences are starting already. There's conferences going on right now. Don't leave the podcast until the show is finished. But they're running all week up until Thursday. It's obviously taking place in LA like it does every year. Nathie's actually going to E3 on Sunday. You're flying out this Sunday. You're going to be there all week, right?
Yes.
So hopefully you're going to be able to get hands-on with a lot of this stuff that's going to be announced, and then you can give us some hands-on feedback on next week's show. So if you want to know what a lot of these games that gets announced this week are like, then hopefully Nathie will be able to tell us next week.
Yeah.
But also feel free to join us in the chat, by the way, for this segment. Let us know your predictions of VR games that are going to be announced, what you're excited about, maybe what you're not so excited about. If you think any new hardware is going to be coming as well, we'd always love to know your thoughts. But just to give you a quick rundown of the conference days, if you want to watch them, I don't want to give you the exact times because I don't want to sort of bombard you with information. But to give you a rough sort of guide, the EA live stream is going on right now. The Microsoft conference is tomorrow, Sunday. The Bethesda PC Gaming Show and Ubisoft conferences are on Monday, and Square Enix and Nintendo conferences are on Tuesday. It's also worth noting that Upload VR will be doing a stream on Monday on their YouTube channel, so you can go and check that out as well. It's all going to be about VR, and they've got some VR devs coming on the show to announce their games. So yeah, let's talk about predictions then. What about you guys? Do you guys have any interesting or spicy predictions about what we might see next week? Maybe.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I was gonna be like, and this is the part where it's like, who did their homework? Because Mike
go on then, Rowdy. Go on then. You go first.
Well, I think that we're gonna see release dates for Stormlands, Asgard's Wrath.
Mm-hmm. I have it written here, you fecker.
I think Valve is going to announce the title. I do think that Valve is going to announce I'm not gonna say Half-Life 3, but I am thinking Half-Life now.
I knew it. It's gonna be the orange box. The orange box in VR.
I think another thing I thought is that Respawn Entertainment, they're finally going to say which title that they're working on. Yeah. I'm sorry, Zim. Hey, you wanted me to go first. And we just talked about Population 1, so I'm hoping that will get a release date as well.
Yeah, and I think out of your predictions there, which I think are solid predictions, we know like a lot of those things are really likely. The Respawn one is the one that has me triggered the most because when I was at an Oculus event in London recently to check out Robo Recall on the Quest, I asked Jason Rubin about this Respawn title, and he said, Respawn, he said, they do everything on their own time. They've got Apex Legends that they're
What? They do everything on their own time with EA on their backs?
Well, the thing is, they've got Apex, which is a huge success. It's not like they need money right now. So, this VR game that they're making on the side, it's ready when it's ready, basically, is what he said. But it has been cooking now for a long time. And I was surprised that we didn't hear anything about it at OC5 in California when we were there. So I think now is a perfect moment for Oculus and Respawn to say, hey.
Otherwise, people are going to forget about it.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
Wait, wasn't it at OC5 where they announced this whole thing, where they showed off this development trailer and they showed what they were?
This was at OC4.
Yeah, this is a long
OC4?
time ago.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So this has been in the works for a long time now, and it's one that, like you said, I think the community have pretty much forgotten about because no one's spoken about it ever since. But everyone I speak to that has played it, who works for Oculus, are like, this game is like freaking legit. It's going to be a huge deal, and we can't wait to share more. So, yeah, nice prediction, Rowdy. I think it would be super smart of Oculus to announce this title at E3.
Yeah.
But yeah, go on, Zim. What have you got for us? Or has Rowdy literally scooped up all your predictions?
3 of 4 of my predictions, Rowdy took.
Okay.
Screw you, Rowdy. It's fine.
I just looked at that note before we started.
I don't understand. It's so funny because I'm like, okay, what are the things that the other people aren't going to say? So yeah,
Rowdy was the one at school, like looking over the side and copying people's homework. He was the one.
That's how I got into uni.
There's cameras in here, I don't trust this room anymore. It's bugged. But so I was saying date for Stormland, and specifically that I keep saying Stormlands, and it's Stormland. So just to help everyone else get that right in the future, because I keep getting it wrong, and Rowdy just did it as well. Stormland. So date for that. I think that's inevitable.
Stormlands. I said Stormland.
Well, we'll see.
With that face of yours, I hear Stormlands.
But I definitely thought Stormland.
Yeah. Well, if you knew it, then that's all that matters. I didn't know that before.
Of course.
Respawn, in terms of their VR shooter, looking forward to that and just seeing what it's about. My guess here, given we know that Valve have been working on 3 titles, and this is probably the weakest of my guesses, is that they're going to hit hard in this because Index has just dropped. And my specific guess is 2 or more. So whether or not they go for the 3rd as well, I'm predicting that they're going to hit 2 titles and mention those 2. So I know like Mike is taking sharp intake of breath, like probably not going to happen. I feel the exact same way, but I still want to put it out there because the timing is not, this timing is unique.
So yeah, I would love it to happen. I would love it to happen that Valve come out the gates and say, these are the titles that we've been working on for Index. Because I feel like, Index has sold out. We don't know how many they sold, so we don't know how successful that was. But, the fact that they sold out is awesome. But the fact that they didn't say anything about a game that they're making, and they've already said many times that they're making these 3 games exclusive to VR that are first party, the fact they didn't even mention one is a disappointment for me. And then they've been promoting other games like Boneworks and No Man's Sky. So yeah, I would love that. But what we do know is that Cloudhead Games, obviously very close developers with Valve, have made the Aperture Hand Labs experience.
Yeah, exactly.
So basically, if you're not familiar, it's like, the Index comes with these Valve Knuckles controllers. I call them Knuckles. They're Index controllers officially. I'll call them Knuckles until I die. But basically, we've talked about it many times on the show, but it's got individual hand finger tracking basically, and this Aperture Hand Labs is a good introduction to show you how magical these controllers actually are. You can shake hands with a robot and do all sorts of other stuff. Cloudhead actually made that, but what we didn't know was that Cloudhead were also making 2 other VR games as well. Now one is going to be announced next week, and the rumor is
so Valve's got 3, Cloudhead's got 3. Okay, what's the rumor?
Apparently the rumor is that this new game from Cloudhead is going to be called Pistol Whip. This was hinted at by Tyler from the Valve News Network. So, he's been hit and miss with some information in the past. So take it with a pinch of salt.
Hey, that's me.
Is you're Tyler?
I'm kind of the VR community.
So that's why Tyler's been asking for so many keys, right?
But yeah, they're announcing a new game. It's going to be a shooter. and apparently is called Pistol Whip. So I'm super excited for Cloudhead to be announcing a new game, because
especially because they're a big VR developer as well. They're one of the bigger ones. Also, there was one more thing I forgot to say. I'm hoping to see a new trailer for Lone Echo 2.
Yes, it's highly likely.
Do you think there's going to be a date? Yet. I think it's probably too soon, but
too soon for a date, I think.
And the fourth on my list, which I didn't mention, Mike, I think there's going to be one title mentioned that's a flat game that we uniformly are going to be excited about, but it's not for VR. Which is not. No, I don't know. I'm not pegging it. I'm just saying I think there's going to be a title announced that the four of us are going to go, oh, I wish that was for
there's going to be a ton of them, I think.
But I think there's going to be one that we're going to say on next week's podcast and agree on, which is tough for this audience because we all have different likes. So that's my prediction.
Okay.
There you go.
So one other thing I want to mention while we're kind of on the topic of Valve is another sort of VR developer that's kind of, being very close with Valve, and that is Anton, the developer behind Hot Dogs, Horseshoes, and Hand Grenades, because also next week he's announcing his latest game.
Half-Life 3.
So, hey, who wouldn't like that? Jeez,
all by himself.
Half-Life Hot Dogs 3. Yeah, confirmed.
If there's one guy who could do it, it'd be him.
But it's awesome. It's so great. Cloudhead, well-respected VR development studio, announcing a game. We've got Anton also announcing a game. Hot Dogs, Horseshoes, and Hand Grenades has been consistently updated throughout the years since its release, and it's a super polished gun simulator. So if you like that sort of thing, go and check it out.
How brilliant would it be if it was all just a cover-up for Half-Life 3? H3 in the name,
Like, if Cloudhead, Anton, and Valve have all been working on Half-Life 3 together, that would be amazing. Wow. But of course, Valve have been pushing Boneworks and No Man's Sky, so no doubt we'll see more about those games next week at E3. But let's pass it over to Nathie then and find out if you've got any sort of predictions that we haven't mentioned so far.
Well, yeah, it's getting hard now. It's getting hard. Now. I do think we can maybe also expect a title from Zalubo, from Vertigo, maybe.
Vertigo.
Just in general, like maybe.
Wait. I think people are still confused.
Yeah, I'm really confused.
Vertigo, the one that you played not that long ago with the cat.
Oh, yes, monster. The cat.
Yeah, and the light rod.
The cat.
Yeah. It has a free demo on Steam, by the way, if you want.
But was Zalubo the developer?
Yeah.
Okay, yes. I'd never heard that before. I played their game.
He was also a part of this. Leaks of like Valve, where he accidentally made screenshots, accidentally streamed something. So he's a part of their, let's say, marketing campaign that we don't know about.
Right.
The official name of the publisher is Zalubo Productions, and the developer his name is Zach Callis Brown. I hope I didn't just rape his name.
So what about Sony then? What do you feel about Sony, Nathie? Because we know obviously that Sony aren't going to be there this year. So how do you feel about that?
Well, they're not going to be there. So what else?
Yeah, but they were you were at E3 last year, right? And PSVR was a huge presence there at the show.
Yeah, on the show in VR.
Yeah. So it's
they said they weren't going to do a conference. That's what they said, as far as I know, right? So it could I didn't check the map completely yet, but they might just be there showing off all the titles they already had to kind of sell. Because I do think E3 is mainly for press. But since last year, they also let consumers enter the building. So I do feel like there is a bigger need of really, selling VR. I just expect a lot of Quest titles, just parts. I think a lot of parts of games we have already played before in VR. And with Valve, it's like if you have seen a developer play around with these knuckles in a certain way, then you can kind of make an indication of if they are going to release something too. I just hope that if Valve does use E3 as their moment, then kind of bundle these announcements together, because I feel like if you just announce one or two games and that's it, and you're not joining along as the company itself, as Valve, then it kind of loses its momentum, I'm afraid. It's the same with Oculus. Oculus is, they have already been talking about Lone Echo 2, that you can play it there. So what Oculus is doing, they push out a new trailer maybe. Oh, hello. That's It's very cute.
Oh, we have a little
new addition to the show. Yeah. Zim's daughter's here to tell us all about E3 next week.
Yeah, what does she expect from E3?
You want to ask her?
But one thing I will say while we're still talking about Valve is that Vertigo Games, they've had access to the Knuckles controllers for a while, and that we know that they're announcing a game next week as well. So obviously they're the developers behind Arizona Sunshine, and they've been sort of teasing out cryptic images on their Twitter feed this week of like a PC, like an old retro computer on a desk that's frozen, with some floppy disks, and then a baseball bat with nails in it that very sort of Negan-esque from The Walking Dead. Yeah, so who knows what that's going to be, but I'm very excited because, again, Vertigo are OG developers in the space.
There is more to be excited about this E3 than there is the previous ones. Definitely. That's for sure, right? I mean, there's a lot more predictions going on. There's a lot more games that we are expecting to see more of. Last time we were all a little bit disappointed, I remember, except from
but that's because last year there weren't that many public releases. It was kind of silent because there was no new hardware. Now it's the moment to start releasing games again. So all those games that you could maybe play behind closed doors at E3 are now finally getting launched. I think that Oculus is definitely going to throw in some more PC titles because I do think they noticed that the Rift S can definitely use a boost in some areas. So they might be like, this is it. We kind of need to sell it. They're going to demo a lot. They're going to demo, of course, the Quest. Quest is going to, it's going to do its thing. Don't worry. Rift S, I'm not so sure about that. Hopefully they have some new titles to show, not the ones that they only showed at PAX, but new things.
Well, if they would come with some release dates already, that'd be great. Like
I think they will.
Like Asgard's Wrath and
I think they will because I think they just know that the Rift S needs some more advertisement, so they will. With Quest, I'm not so sure about that. They might tease some stuff, and I hope Starlands will start. Now I'm also saying Starlands. Dang it! I just said Starlands. What the heck? Thanks, Sim.
You're welcome.
Are we, by the way, expecting anything still from Microsoft Xbox?
Well, this is the thing. Because Sony aren't going to be there, it would kind of be a good opportunity to say for Microsoft and Xbox to finally dip their toes in the VR waters, because they're the only ones in the console space that haven't. We've had Sony supporting PSVR for a long time now. We had Nintendo this year dipping their hands into VR with the Nintendo VR Labo kits. And if Microsoft is saying,
would it be smart to do it still with the current gen? Wouldn't that?
With the new console. With the console, yeah. So it would be smart for them to announce new hardware that is compatible with their Windows mixed reality lineup of headsets.
But I feel like that idea is still very far away because the Xbox didn't do that well, and it's maybe they're focused on other stuff at the moment where they want to push the next Xbox, but trying to make that a success is already a risk on its own. I feel like.
The problem is they're not innovating, in my mind. Like if they came to E3 this week and said, "Look, we're making a Gears of War. The next Gears of War is only going to be playable in VR." That sells a system. And if they said like, "Oh, Forza's coming by the way as well," because that's another first-party Microsoft game.
Yeah, but is that
people
true?
To their platform?
But is that the right way? Because with PSVR, they don't need to throw in a big title to sell it. Like even indies sell well. So I think that may be the nice approach at the start. But in the long run, you're not going to sell the hardware that way.
But Sony still has platform exclusives.
But Xbox will do the same, of course.
Of course. And we know, although we hate exclusives, that's the way to sell a system right now is you need the exclusive titles. But I think it would be a shame. I think it is highly unlikely, but I think it would be a shame if we don't get any tip from Xbox or Microsoft about VR in the future.
I'm going to put my hat in the ring there and say that they won't. Just similar to what Nathie's saying, I don't think around a boardroom table it's going to make sense to go there, even though we all think it makes sense. The amount of engine that you need behind that in terms of funding and where's your return going to come from? There's a lot of that market's already chewed up. And
the thing is, like, Microsoft aren't a small company, we've seen, it needs Facebook behind Oculus to fund and push VR forward. And
sure.
we've seen that.
I agree with that, but let's not forget that PlayStation has been working on VR for like as long, like I don't even know how long. They've been doing it before the Oculus
10
Rift.
years, probably.
The main reason is the latest Xbox has been like struggling to sell, and PlayStation has been kind of overtaking on that side. So I don't like VR is not big enough to be like, oh, this is really going to sell the new Xbox. They are like coming up with other stuff.
But even in terms of content, I have the feeling that they're a little bit like slacking behind.
Well, Microsoft is like their core company is not a gaming company, and PlayStation, like Sony, is more into the gaming side. They've been starting way earlier than Xbox, I feel like.
Yeah, they've got this Xbox division, which I'm sure isn't small either. But you know, like with Sony, like we do know obviously that they've got a new console in the works that's coming out next year.
Yep.
It's backwards compatible with the current PSVR, which is great news for PSVR owners. So it would be interesting. The fact that Sony have put their cards on the table and said, you know, our new console's coming next year. Be interesting if Xbox do something similar. In terms of PSVR games, by the way, games to look forward to that we'll likely see at the event. Some off the top of my head are sort of Wolfenstein, Cyberpilot. I know we've kind of been quiet on that one for a while.
Time.
We'll definitely see
that one is coming out next month, so it's already like pinpointed as far as I know.
No Man's Sky is obviously a big title for PSVR. It's obviously coming to PC as well, but I think that game is going to be super successful in VR because it's pretty much the game that everyone has kind of been dreaming of in VR, and it kind of finally realizes that.
Just a question, just because I don't know, is No Man's Sky already on just regular PlayStation actually?
Yes, on PS4, yes. You've got Golem, which I think Zim got to try very briefly before he broke it at PAX in Boston. You've got Blunt Force, which is, I don't know if you remember this one. It was like a kind of a World War II shooter where you could kind of manipulate and slow down time. That looks super interesting. That's coming to PSVR. Not sure if
what
it's coming
perspective is that, Mike?
First person.
First person. Okay, cool.
Yeah. I can't remember if it's coming to PC as well, but definitely want to check out the trailer. They made a super nice trailer.
It's from Force Field, by the way, who also made the Anne Frank experience, the Combat Coaster, and there is another one that I forgot.
Yeah.
So they made Anne Frank
National Geo, isn't it? I think it's National Geographic that they also made, the Explore VR one.
We got Buck3131 in the chat saying that Apple has also come with a VR headset, but the stand will be £1,000.
Oh my days! That was such a funny meme this week. But yeah, like the other two titles are Iron Man VR, which we talked about on a previous episode of the show. I'm sure more of that, and Star Child, which we've also talked about on a previous episode.
Of the show. Long time coming again. That one. That was on the first demo disc, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so there's some PSVR games to look forward to, but let's jump straight back to Oculus then. Well, no, before
you're off Sony, I was going to say one thing. We've seen a lot coming out of their Western studios, but not so much again coming out of kind of Asia. And I'd like to see more coming out of Sony in like Japan and that, because last thing I remember us seeing would have been Resident Evil. I mean, that was a massive title when it landed. What was the last thing that we saw out of their
Astrobot
Astrobot would have been good point.
Japan, yeah.
I think the golf one came out of Japan as well lately. I think last week.
Everybody's Golf.
Yeah, it's a Japanese title.
Right.
Is that back from Sony directly? I didn't.
I don't know about that.
Give me a minute.
But yeah, so hopefully, although Sony won't be there, we'll still see some Sony titles being announced and some bits and pieces for PSVR. But the other thing is, like, you know, HTC with the Cosmos, we haven't really heard much about that headset since it was whispered about a few months back. And also Samsung recently teased that they're going to be launching some new AR and VR hardware soon. Yeah. I don't think that we're going to see either HTC.
Nah, but E3 is not the place for VR hardware, I feel like. That's more like, what is it? The one in Las Vegas.
CES.
Yeah, that's where you announce your VR hardware.
Yeah, so let's jump back to Oculus then and round up the show with some Oculus titles, because I wrote a list of sort of Oculus Rift titles that I'm looking forward to, because I know we've talked about it on the show that I feel kind of bad for Rift S owners, especially if you've just bought a Rift S and you've bought into VR. And I know there's an amazing back catalog of games, but you know, you want to play the latest and the greatest when you get a headset like that. So I can kind of feel your pain a little bit, but we do have some cool titles on the horizon, and hopefully at E3 we'll hear some more about when they release, so we can actually finally play them. And the list I've got here is Phantom from End Dreams. Nathie and I played that on the Quest recently. I thought it was pretty fun. You're basically in a kayak. You're this kind of like stealth sort of military soldier dude taking down sort of bases and people with your guns from the kayak, which is kind of fun.
Was that the full version of the game now that you've played? Because I thought you'd said you'd had a demo of it. Just a demo.
Just a demo.
Okay.
Just an exclusive demo. Yeah. You've got Asgard's Wrath from Sanzaru. We got to play that at PAX. We've got the Respawn game, which we mentioned. Vader Immortal. It's got to be announced at E3 coming to Rift. It has to be. The community are like killing themselves over not being able to play this game on Rift. So I really hope that we get a release date. If not, it gets released during E3. That would be super smart for them to get a lot of hype around that game, because I'm sure it's ready. So that would make sense. Espire 1, which is the stealth game it's being published by Tripwire Games. That looks really interesting, where you control this kind of stealth machine, like a stealth Terminator. Looks kind of cool. Defector, Stormland, and Lone Echo 2 are some other titles to look forward to coming to Rift.
Okay. One that I forgot to mention on the PSVR side is Sniper Elite.
Oh, yeah, baby.
Oh, and Borderlands, maybe PC as well, is another solid one.
Where did it go? It should have been... I think they should have launched it last month.
Yes.
But maybe they're waiting for...
Yeah. Gearbox.
I don't know.
Go and tell them. You'll see them because they'll have Borderlands 3 there. So like, say, look, guys, hey, what's up?
Yeah. No, I can try.
Yeah, do it.
Chain myself to the booth until they release it.
We will not leave.
Yeah.
Eat a head strap, another one.
Eat another one. So then finally, obviously I've talked about Rift. Let's talk about Quest. We mentioned that Population 1 is coming to Quest, so I'm sure we'll see more of that. At E3, we've got Pavlov, which you can sideload, the early sort of beta of that game now. So we'll likely hear more about that. Onward, obviously, just announced during the show from Downpour Interactive that is coming to Quest, which is awesome news for Quest owners.
Play that.
And I just hope we can get Force Tube support with Onward on the Quest. So I'm sure the ProTube developers are trying to get it to work. So fingers crossed they can get that to work, because I would be so happy if that happens.
It just makes such a difference. It makes such a difference to have not the stock, but also the vibration. I mean, but how, right? Like, how are you going to do that?
It's a Bluetooth device. So, we know Bluetooth devices do work with the Quest. So fingers crossed. Bluetooth controllers work, for example. So they might be a workaround there. But the game that I'm surprised we haven't heard more of yet, and we heard a lot of originally, was The Climb. No one's really mentioned The Climb since OC5. So hopefully we get The Climb announced for Quest at E3, along with Vacation Simulator, and of course Sorrento, which has been delayed. I think they were going to launch, they pushed it back. So hopefully we'll hear more about that as well on the Quest.
Actually, like The Climb, the game I played recently was Don't Look Down. I'd love to see that come to the Quest. It would be perfect for it, because just like with The Climb, you have moments where you panic and you're trying to leap from one thing to the next. But I find that step away from being untethered now, it would just translate so well with that game. But there's so much coming. I mean, like, this whole wave is just like, it's quite impressive comparing to what Rowdy said. Last year, I remember us having that kind of like disappointed, sad face, post podcast. We're like, no, there's not much out.
Yeah, you're going to be spoiled for choice. And regardless of what platform you choose, PSVR, Quest, Oculus, Windows MR, Vive, whatever, Index, whatever you choose, you're going to have a huge library of games to play, which is awesome for the industry. Excellent.
Yes.
But let's just quickly round up with the show. Maybe I just want to touch on something that Zim mentioned quickly, and that was a game that's not a VR game that you're excited to hear more about. Maybe we can talk more about that on next week's show, but one that you've maybe seen already that is going to be at E3 that you're excited about. And maybe I'll start then.
Oh, so this is a question for the chat. So you want them to pick a non-VR game that they're excited about?
But also us as well.
Okay.
Because there is a game that I'm super excited about that is going to be at E3 and it's going to be playable there.
Okay.
And it's surprising, and that is the new Call of Duty game. It really piqued my interest since the announced teaser trailer. Because
is this Modern Warfare?
Yeah, and as much as people think it's ridiculous, I think it's a super smart move from them, because Modern Warfare was their most successful franchise. It's Infinity Ward, going back to their roots. It's got Captain Price in it, iconic characters from the series, and the way that they're rebooting this to make it super gritty and super realistic, and from some of the people that have played it, I mentioned Drifter before. He actually went to an Infinity Ward event where he got to play it, and he was like, I would be surprised if this game doesn't get banned, or gets an adult only rating.
We get some no Russian missions again, huh?
But he said, literally the no Russian mission is nothing compared to what he played
that's years ago.
Yeah, in this game. And he basically said that they watched hours on end of live leak videos of real life military operations, and basically based on that.
I heard that as well, that they had to, wasn't it that they even had to, some of them had to go for psychological help?
I wouldn't be surprised. I won't go into it on the show because I think it would take too much time. But some of the stuff, go and watch Drifter's stream. He talks about it a lot in a number of streams. But yeah, it sounds super interesting, and I think I'm all down for a realistic, gritty Call of Duty game.
Single player you're talking about here.
Single player. I've never been a multiplayer guy, but I really like the idea of it, and I really enjoyed the original game. I didn't really enjoy the series after that, like Zombies and Black Ops and everything else.
I really hope they nail it, because I played the World War II one. I love World War II games. It didn't feel to me like a World War II game, and it's the same with Battlefield as well. I feel like, but for me, the most interesting one, pancake-wise, is Cyberpunk.
Oh yeah, good call, super good call. Looks like a really good game, first person as well, which I was surprised about.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm excited for that one as well. Very excited. Project, was it CD Projekt Red? They make some amazing games. All you need to do, you only need to buy one of their games a year, basically, and that's you done.
You need to play The Witcher, and you're done.
You're done. So if you're on a tight budget, go and check out one of their games. I wish I had the spare time in my life to invest playing a game like Witcher or Cyberpunk, and that's the only thing that I'm worried about a game like that, is that I don't have the time to play it.
Yeah.
What about you, Zim?
I'm wholly uninformed in the flat gaming era these days. I don't even know what's showing in the flat space.
A new Star Wars game as well.
No, the only thing that occurred to me while we were talking during the show was having been to one of Bethesda's game days back in Boston. They talked a lot about what they had been working on. They were celebrating some milestones that they had, and just Skyrim continues to be, to this day, still my favorite all-time VR game. I just checked, and it's still killing it on Steam. It's beating everything else on the Steam store at the moment. Trover's number 2, Beat Saber's number 3, like that. And Skyrim's number 1. And I still want to see a made-for VR Skyrim or Elder Scrolls game. Do I think that that's even likely, given the kind of status updates they've given on their other games? No. But if I was to want one, then that would be it. It would be basically Skyrim 2 or the next Elder Scrolls, which they're working on. But do I think it's going to have native VR support? Maybe not.
And it's the same question with the new Doom game. Because they when they did the VR support, they did 3 games, Fallout. Well, I don't think you want to play Fallout 76 in VR. I'm sorry, gotta disappoint you. Maybe Doom, and Doom, for example, multiplayer in VR would be so much fun, where you can just tag along. And yeah, Skyrim, of course, also online in VR would be super interesting.
And if they ever did what they have right now with Elsewhere online, if they had that for VR, again. Something like Orbis is just waiting to be killed by a behemoth. I'm sorry to say it, but that's actually another AAA studio needs to feed that category. You need your MMO category filled, and I don't know who's going to take it. We've seen entrants in the Battle Royale space. We talked about that on today's show, but each of these main pockets, they're going to have somebody come along, a behemoth, and just squash it. We actually saw that happen in poker already. PokerStars came in and kind of killed off all the other competitors in that space almost straight out the gates. So just waiting on the next one. So that was mine. Skyrim 8. Well, Elder Scrolls 8 or Skyrim. Online. Yeah.
What about you then, Rowdy? You mentioned Jedi Fallen.
Yeah, if there's a game that I mean, the kind of games I like on PC are the ones that Nathie has been mentioning as well. The kind of games that you sink so many hours in. I'm not a multiplayer guy. I like things like The Witcher 3. I was a huge Mass Effect fan. The Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. Those kind of games, those are the ones that I really played a lot, like very story-driven games. We talked a little bit a while back about To the Moon, one of my favorite games of all time. Even though it's pixely and everything, it's like I'm a big like story kind of guy. That's the kind of stuff that I want to see. Yeah. So The Last of Us 2 is another one that I'm really like. I haven't even played the first one, but I watched the entire game on YouTube. So yeah, I'm the guy who really watches for a story or plays for a story. So yeah, nice. I'm hoping something in the lines of that. Yeah.
Cool. So feel free to let us know your predictions for VR and what you're excited about, maybe not for VR, in the chat, because we can quickly talk about, like, we're thinking about doing a live stream potentially on Monday evening. It's not confirmed yet, so don't get super excited, but we're tentatively thinking about doing an E3 live stream where we talk about everything that was released. Hopefully we'll show all the trailers and we can talk about our reactions to these games, and hopefully some of the predictions that we've talked about in this week's show will actually become real life and our Christmases will all be answered. But yeah, let us know if you've got any stuff that you're excited about that you want to see at the event, for sure.
Oh yeah, people are talking about like Death Stranding is a good one in terms of know the flat game. That's had so much hype around it.
Like I watched that trailer. I still don't understand what the heck is going on.
What is this game?
All I know is that there's a baby in a box that he's carrying around with him. It looks super weird, but obviously that is Kojima's mind.
Yeah. But this game uses the engine that Guerrilla Games build, and it's like, top notch.
Yeah.
That's what I would like to see as well, like developers and publishers using new engines. Like Skyrim, for example, like Bethesda has been using the same engine for years. Even Call of Duty is running on the same engine for years. Like, I hope that someone is, trying something new and can really help.
Yeah, this new Call of Duty does use a new engine.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, and that's why it looks so realistic. Like it looks super realistic. Like,
it doesn't look like Minecraft anymore.
Doesn't look like Minecraft anymore.
There's a good idea here in chat that I like the idea of as well. And RIP Fake says, Planet Zoo for PC. Any kind of damn good zoo game for VR would be awesome. I have to concur with that. That would be really neat. Yeah.
Like, I kind of feel like, what was the dinosaur game? It kind of didn't really hit the mark. That me and you tried to play that one time.
Bleeding Edge?
No, the Ark Park, I think it was.
Yeah. Oh, Ark Park, yeah.
Something like that would do so well in VR, but I just don't think they executed it particularly well in that game. But
they are working on a pirate title now, I think.
They are?
Yeah, the developers of Ark.
Yeah,
but we don't even have one episode of the podcast where we don't talk about dinosaurs.
We love dinosaurs.
We're gonna close and all of us like, yes, we're gonna do it, but no.
Oh, Rowdy, I know you love dinosaurs, but have you played Epic Coasters yet on Quest? Because you shoot them.
Yeah.
Oh,
but I don't mind that.
You start. I'm just gonna explain it for a second. You start in a little roller coaster, and you start going along. And you're given a gun, and the pop-up dinosaurs are targets. So you're pinging them off, and something happens. The momentum starts building. And so your car starts going so fast that you can barely shoot a dart out of your gun that's going to hit a target. And then at the end, well, I won't ruin the surprise, but something happens dramatic.
So that's how they disappeared in the first place.
It's like 3-4. Yeah, that's exactly how they went extinct. We just shot them all. Like 3-4 minutes of just shooting like pop-up cardboard dinosaurs. It is the most bizarre experience. And then of course you can pay for more. And I'm like, I'm not sure I'm convinced.
Yeah, I'm done.
But it's free.
Like, talking about dinosaurs, what if we would get a new Robinson the Journey title?
Yeah, absolutely.
At least something from Crytek next to The Climb. Something.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, put your suggestions in the chat right now. Ask us any questions you want. I'll just quickly go over the show times again. So just a reminder, this is a weekly VR, AR, and MR talk show, live streamed every Saturday on YouTube, Facebook, and on Twitch. Tune into the show live at 7 p.m. in Europe, 6 p.m. in the UK, and 12 midday in Central US. Also check out the audio version available on SoundCloud, iTunes, and on Anchor. Leave us a nice review on iTunes. That would really help us out. Smash a like on this button. Subscribe to the channel. Do all those lovely things. So fire away if there's any questions.
There's a question here, which I've been seeing actually throughout the week on Twitter. Did anyone try the Index yet? Is the God Ray really worse than the CV1? So
I don't think any of us have tried the Index yet.
Not yet.
Nathie and I have pre-ordered one, and they're due for delivery on the 28th of June. And I'm sure we're going to be covering them as soon as it arrives. So
maybe they have one at E3, you know, where the dev thinks like, hey, maybe I should just take it with me and demo my game somewhere. Then I will definitely grab the opportunity to try it. But I don't know. Right now, I have no idea. But
so if you're a dev and you want to talk to Nathie, make sure you bring
that's also you can also bring it to me. That's also instead of searching for it.
I hear he likes mushrooms.
Yeah, I'm just super intrigued about the refresh rate with that. And I know we've talked about refresh rate before, but 144 hertz sounds very appealing.
And I heard that it's also quite heavy.
Oh, is that right?
But let's wait until we tried it.
Yeah. Let's see if is there anything else here. People have been talking about God Rays, and someone says, do you think Minecraft for the Quest will be announced at Minecon Live? Ooh.
Minecon.
I'm not going to make any predictions about Minecraft anymore because I was convinced.
Mike, please go to Minecon and then stand there in this line with all these kids like, hey, is Minecraft coming to the VR headsets?
They're already going to, what is that?
You're going to end up on a compilation.
Yeah, they all play on mobile. Like all the kids I know play on Minecraft on mobile.
Yeah.
You can. Yeah. They've done a good job of upscaling that, but I'm really curious for the Minecraft AR conversion. It would be very interesting to see.
Can we not just have John Carmack appearing on stage at E3 and just announcing all those games we have been waiting for so long?
Well, that's the thing, because like Oculus don't actually have a conference, so just be aware of that. Yeah. Most likely, all of this news will come in the form of an Oculus blog post. So.
But we might do.
But we might
create our own conference. Why not?
Create our own conference to get you
screw it. You know what? Yeah. We're just gonna do it ourselves.
Yeah. So if you're interested in watching our predictions, our reactions to a lot of this news coming out, then Monday evening is likely when we're going to do it. So just tentatively, Monday night. Keep your diary free for a little, session with the FReality boys.
That's it.
Boys in the hood.
Okay, so let's wrap up the show then. I hope you guys and girls have enjoyed it. Thanks for joining us, as always, in the chat. We really appreciate it. And if you're listening to this audio version of the show, hello to you as well. We appreciate you just as much. We hope you have a great week in VR. Enjoy all the fresh news. We'll be back. If we're not back on Monday, we'll definitely be back next Saturday. So tune in then, and bye-bye for now. Take care. See ya.
Bye-bye.
Bye.